Hi guys, there was a massive landslide a couple of days ago on Wyoming 22/Teton Pass. I think that's how you say it. And I had a request to take a look at it astrologically. So this is the original post in my Facebook group, Intuitive Healing with Allie DZ. Can you do a video on this astrologically speaking? This pass is the lifeline between Teton Valley residents and Jackson Hole workers. From what I've read, they did a temporary fix. Then there was a mudslide in another area which shut down the pass, so they checked on the temporary fix, and the pictures show how well the temporary fix went. It was an absolute miracle that no one died because traffic is insane. Now commuters have to take a much longer drive. So here are some photos of this. If you have not seen this, like, wow, it's crazy. And I just was Googling up some other articles to read about it, and the pictures in there are totally crazy. Okay, this was a very helpful comment. The crack has been happening slowly over many years. It started moving faster on Friday and was moving at a rate of 6 inches an hour on Friday evening. My husband and a small crew were up there trying to get asphalt off the crack to lessen the load, and they were also making a new road above the slide. He said it was crazy to listen to. The road fell somewhere in early morning hours Friday night and Saturday morning. It was a catastrophic failure before they returned to the site Saturday morning. When they got there at 7 a.m., Earth was still moving and smaller portions were still falling. He is up there now working because the engineers seem to think they can have a new road made by the Monday morning commute. And I don't know, as far as I know, that has not been accurate as far as like the engineers were not right, but look at that picture of the crack. Wow. That was at Friday at 6:40 p.m. Okay, let's see if I can make this big for you. Look at that. Look at that. And I pulled up the charts for this, and we're going to take a look at them. But before I do, just now that I've hit the record button on Zoom, and now that I'm like really looking at it, I'm seeing this actually is like much more symbolically rich than I had previously considered. And also another fun fact is that Jackson Hole, next to Jackson Hole, is a much smaller hole called Weiniger Hole, and that is my maiden name. And so once upon a time we did a family reunion at Weiniger Hole, and so I always feel like a little connection to the Jackson Hole area, even though like I've never lived there. I've been there like one time, but it's just a kind of a funny connection. So let's take a look at this chart and see if we can discern what's going on. Now, this is she sent me a picture from 8:24 a.m. when it was like they showed up and it's like a disaster zone over there. But let's take a look first at the visible crack. Okay, this is the chart that goes with that picture of that crack that I showed you. And so that's this crack has been happening for a lot of years, apparently, right? So this is the culmination of many years of erosion. And so I hope you can see how this is going to be like very symbolic. If we look at this from kind of a more like global situation, like a more global perspective, we've been experiencing massive erosion of all sorts of things for a very long time. And one day, a little crack appears, and then you say, oh my, look at that crack. And then the next day, you can have a mudslide that totally takes out a road, and there you go. And so this is a disaster for the local area because a lot of the people there that usually took that road, it's like a 22-minute drive from one end to the other, between these two communities. Now they will have between a 90-minute and a 4-hour drive going around. It is so awful. And it looks like this pass is super windy and crazy. And you can see in this picture right here that it's kind of like on this hill. Like they can't just like go down and around. Like the terrain is just very difficult to navigate, to build a road, so, oh boy, I mean, look at that. Okay, this was what was happening at 7 a.m. Okay, so overnight, between that picture of the crack and 7 a.m., we have this big disaster that's going to seriously impact all of the people in these areas. So let's go back to that chart. It's hard to choose an exact time because this has been happening for years. It's been happening for decades, it sounds like. But when I ran this chart, I thought it was interesting, and I want to mention this concept for a little minute, the concept of horary, which I know, how do you even spell that? It's Horary, okay? And a horary chart, astrologically speaking, is a chart that you run. You ask yourself a question, and then you run a chart for the moment you ask the question. And then you analyze the chart for an answer to your question. And I think that, you know, you could have some debate if you wanted to on, you know, spiritual appropriateness of that technique, if I can phrase it that way. To me, it kind of is similar to if you pray about something and then you pop open your scriptures and you're like, okay, what is the answer to me? And you open it up and just read a verse and see if it applies to your situation. Like, to me, it's kind of like the same thing. So there actually can be a case to run the chart from, you know, from whatever moment and analyze it, and it can still provide helpful insights. So this is the time when she showed me that picture of the crack and said this was 6:40. That's what I ran this chart for. And the first thing that stands out to me about this is this double Scorpio right here at 0 degrees, and then right here at 20 degrees Scorpio, this ascendant. Now, of course, this is just going to be the ascendant for that very moment that this picture was taken, right? And the crack clearly started before that one moment, right? But to me, when I ran this chart, I thought, okay, no, that does feel significant because Scorpio is the deepest of the water signs. Scorpio is the sign of hidden things, and it's the sign of, you know, secrets and water. I mean, it is the sign of erosion, in my opinion. It's the sign of transformation, but it does it through water, and like that is what erosion is. Oh, hello. And so when I saw that, I thought double Scorpio and a Scorpio ascendant, like, yes, at 0 degrees of Scorpio at the 12th house, I was like, yes, here is the perfect representation of a hidden thing that's coming to light through water and erosion. Like the deep things of the earth are coming to the surface and causing a big transformation. I feel like Scorpio energy is an erosion energy, and it is an energy of washing old things away. And I think that that brings up some interesting conundrums, I guess, for the modern age of things that are going to be washed away that maybe we don't want them to be, and maybe they must be for whatever reason in the grand scheme of things. Okay, let's go back on over to that chart. Hi, baby. Swallow all that water in your mouth. Now, as I was thinking about how to analyze this chart, my first thought was we got to take a look at Taurus and Gemini. Before I even saw that whole Scorpio connection, I thought, okay, what's going on in Taurus? What's going on in Gemini? I thought of Taurus because Taurus governs Earth. And I thought of Gemini because Gemini deals with transportation, particularly short-term transportation. What do you want, honey? Sorry, guys. What do you want to see, baby? So Gemini deals with short-term transportation and like little tiny trips. Sagittarius deals with like lengthy sabbaticals, and Gemini is like your commute from your house to the place where you work 22 minutes away down this like windy highway. Oh, and so we have a lot of stuff going on right here, and in this exact chart, they're all in the same house, which is really, really interesting. So all of these are in the 7th house, which is the house of alliances. It's the house of two things coming together, the bridge house, okay? Which is so interesting because this is essentially a bridge collapse that we're working with. Like, it's not a real bridge, but it is in the sense that it's like connecting these two locations over this tough terrain that is not possible to cross otherwise. And so when I saw this in this chart, I thought, oh, yes, this is definitely the chart that I really want to work with. And we have a whole lot going on in Gemini and Uranus here. Uranus, of course, is the planet of unexpected cataclysm. It doesn't have to show up in negative terms, but it often does, because I think it reflects our personal energies. And when we have a bunch of crap energies that we're putting out into the world, Uranus brings us little surprises to evidence that to us. When we're putting out good into the world, then Uranus brings good back to us. But most people kind of put out more bad than good, I think, to be honest. And so Uranus is linked with earthquakes. It is linked with mudslides. It is linked with volcanic eruptions, everything like that. So very interesting in this one chart to have them together. But Uranus in Taurus is a placement that where you expect big shakeups with physical land, with property, with money. Okay, and this exact event is all three of those things, right? It's a big shaking up event of land and property and money, which is exactly a Taurus kind of thing. This whole set of stuff right here is we have Jupiter, Jupiter, Mercury, the Sun, and Venus. And the Sun and Venus are really close together, and Jupiter and Mercury, I don't know, do we count them as being conjunct? Let's take a little look. That my software considers them conjunct, which means that they're close enough to be like influencing each other. Let's go back and see. How big is the Jupiter orb? Ooh, Jupiter is trining that Pluto, which does feel important, and Pluto is squaring Mars. So let's go right back and take a little look at that. Ho ho. That's a really interesting thing. Okay, we'll come back to that. But Jupiter is going to expand things. Mercury deals with transportation as well. It's like the thinker and talker. It's the messenger. Okay, it takes a message from one place to another place, usually over short distances. And so that's why Mercury rules Gemini, and why that's like kind of interesting to have that Mercury situation right there. And of course, the Sun is in Gemini right now. So we're all in a more Gemini kind of state of mind. Again, the messenger, and taking messages, taking things from one place to another place. And then Venus is our planet having to do with femininity. It has to deal with, oh, you're so pretty. Thank you. So cute. Great. And okay, so right here we have a big expansion of these Mercury Gemini concepts having to deal with transportation and communication over short distances. And then yeah, Gemini. Oh, here comes my Gemini sun. She's heard the key word. She has an 11th house Gemini sun. Gemini, yes. So yep, there's a Gemini sun in my front room right now, she says. That's true. But all of this is, I think, just a big verification of this energy of a big focus on that bridge, a disruption, that Uranus, that cataclysmic disruption of the ability to transport items, people, and concepts, ideas across from one place to another. Okay, so another interesting thing here is this Pluto trining Jupiter. Pluto is the sign of death and rebirth. It goes with Scorpio. Scorpio and Pluto are little. Pluto is the boss of Scorpio. Okay, it's like the king of Scorpio. And so when I see this trine, I'm thinking, okay, there's an easy flow between this serious like transformation energy from Pluto flowing right towards that Jupiter that's going to expand. And what do we have going on from there? A little square to the midheaven, which is kind of its impact on the world at large. So that square is going to be tension, and particularly uncomfortable tension in how Pluto and Jupiter are. This is unsafe. I do not want you to do that again. Please go to the basement. How they're flowing together, and then causing a lot of tension for all the people that have to deal with it. Pluto squaring Mars is very interesting, especially with Mars right here at 29 degrees of Aries. That is called an anoritic degree, and that's going to deal with the end of a cycle. And Aries, especially Mars in Aries, it deals with, I mean, it's a really fiery energy. It can also be a very sudden energy, and it's an energy that deals with the physical body and really like the physical world. Aries is very physical physicality oriented. So this is a very interesting dynamic here where Pluto is inviting this big transformation in a way that causes a lot of tension with that fiery Mars energy. Let's take another look quickly at this midheaven at 4 degrees of Virgo, which actually is kind of weird. That's actually my birth. That's my sun is 4 degrees of Virgo. So that's like very interesting to me. I hadn't noticed that. I'm interpreting this live. I haven't taken a big deep dive until like right this second. But having this midheaven in Virgo, anytime you have a midheaven in Virgo, then you know that the person whose chart that is has kind of a calling to be a healer. Looking at this situation with this timestamp, I'm thinking, okay, this is a big invitation. Like, if we're going to focus it just on this crack and just on this one situation, then what are we really looking at? We're looking at an invitation to really be thinking about the energies that we're putting out into the world and how they may be inviting some cataclysm back. We're looking at disruptions in that ability to communicate and to transport things over this important and short route. And it's going to be extremely transformative to that exact area in particular. 0 degrees of Scorpio, that's like very intense, okay? This is a very potent degree for getting something started. And what's getting started? A huge transformation of the actual literal land and how the water and the land are interacting and how transportation is going to be able to flow. But why is it happening? The answer is going to be right up here. It's happening to trigger a healing situation. Okay, it's going to heal something. And maybe we don't know what that is. And so what might this need to heal? Something that comes to mind is the land itself. If we tune into the energy of the earth in that exact spot, does the earth itself love having a road there? I know that sounds like crazy talk, but I think we can hopefully all agree that the earth itself is deeply wounded right now. It's full of PFOAs and like forever chemicals and plastic trash and like piles of unused fast fashion clothing. And it's full of all sorts of weird, horrible stuff. And I love roads. I think they're very great. I like living in a world that has them, but there's no way getting around it. Our roads are made out of toxic materials. These are not Roman roads built with stone. I mean, like, we're using petrochemicals, we're using toxic gunk in our roads, and it can cause some big problems. I don't know if you ever pay attention in the news where they talk about like these big sinkholes opening up in these various cities. I always keep an eye on those things because that is one of my, I don't know, I always think about the flow of water underneath our roads, and you can't tell what's going on under the surface until it's too late, because if you can't tell what's going under the surface, it's because there's a huge disaster, right? My mom works in, I don't even know how to put it, but she does community management, and so she does a lot of work with roads and asphalt and managing all of that stuff. So I grew up very immersed in that world, and so I am very intrigued by all of that. But I think on a bigger symbolic level, again, bringing it back to the very beginning, we're seeing, I mean, what messages can we take from this personally, from this story of this critical highway that is very important for the people that it's important to? It's very important to them. And there's been erosion happening slowly for many, many years. And then one day there's a crack. And then a couple days later, it's gone. It's just absolutely gone. Okay, what messages can you and I take from this? And what can we do about it? That, I mean, that's really like a thought question for you, and it's a thought question for me. I think for me, my big takeaway is we have to, I mean, do all the stuff that I'm always talking about anyway. We've got to get ourselves right with our creator. We've got to do our best to make things right from all the things that we've messed up in our lives. I talk about this in, I think, especially my Intuition Accelerator class, of making a personal inventory of all the people that you've hurt and the negative stuff that you might have done in your life, and make a really thorough inventory of it. And sorry, it's going to leave a ring on my table. Um, you go down the list and you go and make things right, even if it's uncomfortable. Here's what you can't do. You can't just write a Facebook post that says, I'm really sorry for everyone that I've ever hurt in my life. You get 0 points for that. Sorry. You need to like go and actually make things right. And I have a video that I scheduled to come out in, I think, a couple of weeks. So keep an eye out for it. But it's my attempt to make sure that my videos come out more regularly. But it's about how to have a spirit to spirit conversation with people. So you can have those tough conversations, even if you can't find that person, or even if it would not be appropriate to bring this stuff up verbally, you can still have these tough conversations and make them right. We need to be leveling up personally so that when these big disruptive events happen in our communities, that we personally will not be emotionally disrupted. You know, I don't know that any amount of emotional healing could make it so that the people that work on the one end of that route don't have to take a huge, you know, detour to get to the other side. That's not how it works. We heal ourselves, we do our good work, and we still get inconvenienced and we still get affected by what I guess you could call the blood and sins of our generation. We're still affected by that. Maybe we're not personally culpable of it anymore because we personally are working to heal ourselves from the stuff that we've inherited and the stuff that we, you know, it's kind of our responsibility because we were born into it, and all of us as a group have contributed to these situations. But we do our best to do our part so that even when we are inconvenienced, even when we are severely affected by these different situations, that we are not dragged down by it emotionally. I know that wishing for inner peace kind of, it sounds cliche and like ridiculous, but truly in a world of extreme upheaval, inner peace is what you got. We have to be focused on, how am I going to increase my inner peace? How am I going to expand my inner peace? How am I going to find peace even when things are crazy? You know, and there's no better way to be figuring that out than in your own home. Um, with all the stuff that's just happening in your regular life. Like, this is the perfect training ground where we get little opportunities every day to see if we're going to lose our cool or do our part to figure out inner peace. And I don't know, I'm still like figuring that out myself. Yesterday, my daughters got a bunch of frozen raspberries and left them all over the carpet in the basement and let them melt. And now there's like all these raspberry stains down there. Fortunately, I missed that drama, but I know if I had been here for that, and I haven't even looked at the stains yet, but I'm like, oh, will I yell at them over this? I might. It's hard to say. I'm like, can I maintain my inner peace as I deal with the raspberry stains all over my carpet? We'll find out. Stay tuned. But these little situations are a huge gift to us, okay? Even though they don't feel like a gift in the moment, um, they're an opportunity for us to train our nervous systems, to train our brains, to think differently about the little things so that when the big things show up, we can really think differently about the big things, okay? So as you go about your day to day, I just want you to be a little bit more conscious in how you're handling everything that's showing up for you. Can you handle it a little bit more calmly? Can you maintain that bigger perspective? I want to show you one last thing really fast before we call it a day. This is my main website, allieduzetclasses.com. Totally life-changing. You should check it out. These are my new sessions that are coming out this week. I'm recording them live. If you've never sat in on my live sessions, I hear they're very fun. I mean, I always think that they're fun, but other people say that they're really fun and it's worth going to them live. I am recording the betrayal session tomorrow. I am recording the abandonment session the next day. So this is going to be one really powerful way to help yourself find more inner peace. These are two sessions that have been highly requested for years, and I had never felt like I was in a space to like give them the full attention that they deserve. And this week I just woke up and I felt like God just said, look, Allie, you gotta just record them. Like, you can't just wait till things are perfect. Sometimes you just got to do it. You just got to do your best, put these things out there, hope that they help the world. Like, you just got to do it. So we're just doing it. I am excited about it. I anticipate crying at both of them. I anticipate probably you guys, anybody attending, keep your Kleenexes nearby because I'll probably cry. but then we will feel so much better as the burden of those emotions is lifted from us. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. AllIDoIsAtClasses.com, go check it out. Those are the sessions that we're doing live. I don't recommend starting with those. Work through the foundational sessions first. So if you haven't done those, at least do You Deserve to Heal before you show up live to your first one, and watch the instructions on like how these sessions work. But I'm excited to help us clear those energies out, because both betrayal and abandonment are so turbulent and so depressing. They just weigh on the physical body and on the spirit, and it will be really good to clear those things out. So okay, I thank you for watching this. I'm really interested to hear your perspective on this road situation, any kinds of spiritual insights that you're getting from it, any kind of additional information that you have to add. I would love to hear about it in the comments. Thank you guys for being here, and I will talk to you later.